You're standing at the mouth of a tunnel underneath an Amish farmhouse in Holmes County, Ohio. No wires, no compressor, no thermostat. And the air coming out of it is 55 degrees in the middle of August. You've walked past this your whole life. Your grandfather might have had one. The ground beneath your house is doing this right now, has been doing it every single day. Since before you were born, and not one person in the construction industry, the HVAC industry, or the architecture school your contractor trained at ever mentioned it to you. There's a word for that. But before we get to the word, here's the number that should make you stop whatever you're doing and pay attention. 28.7. Why does that number mean your air conditioner is one of the most expensive cons ever pulled on the American homeowner? Most people think passive cooling is something for off-grid enthusiasts. A niche hobby, a nice idea that doesn't really scale to real homes, built in real suburbs with real building codes. And that's exactly what someone needed you to think. Because the real reason you've never heard of earth tubes goes much deeper than engineering preference. It goes into the boardrooms of 1927, one sentence in a 1930 corporate manual, and a regulatory committee in 2019, where 67% of the members worked for the industry they were supposed to be evaluating. Once you understand what was buried and why, you'll never look at your cooling bill the same way again. And more importantly, you'll understand that the system that replaces it costs $300, fits in a strip of land the width of a car, lasts 50 to 100 years, and has been quietly running under Amish farmhouses in Ohio for 2 centuries. It starts with a concept called ground thermal mass. For 4.5 billion years, the Earth has been absorbing, storing, and slowly releasing heat. The soil is heavy between 100 and 125 pounds per cubic foot. Moving that mass even 1 degree takes 20 to 30 BTUs per cubic foot. That's not a statistic, that's a wall. When summer heat bakes the surface, it starts sinking. But it moves slowly, 6 to 8 weeks to penetrate just 6 feet. By the time the heat from August reaches 6 feet down, it's October. The season changed before the Earth could catch up. So at 6 feet below the surface, the ground temperature locks in and stays constant all year. Summer, winter, doesn't matter what's happening above. Oak Ridge National Laboratory, the Department of Energy's own research facility, measured this city by city. Chicago, 55 degrees year-round. Atlanta, 62 degrees. Denver, 58 degrees. Phoenix, 67 degrees. Minneapolis, 52 degrees. Holmes County, Ohio, right where those Amish farms sit, 54 to 56 degrees. Every single day of every single year. Now compare that to what your air conditioner does. Your AC works by compressing chemical refrigerant, forcing it through coils, blowing air across those coils, and dumping the heat outside. It pulls 3.5 units of cooling for every unit of electricity it consumes. Engineers call that a coefficient of performance of 3.5. An earth tube, a simple buried pipe that lets air travel through cool ground, was measured across 47 installations worldwide. Its coefficient of performance, 28.7. 28 versus 3. That gap right there represents billions of dollars in equipment, refrigerant, electricity, and service contracts every single year. And that's exactly why you've never heard of it. The Amish didn't read about this in a textbook. They figured it out the way they figure out everything, by paying attention to what the Earth was already doing and building around it. Root cellars dug 10 feet deep, 32 to 40 degrees year-round, no insulation, no power. Spring houses built over groundwater flowing at 54 to 56 degrees constant. And what they call the breath of the floor, clay pipes buried under foundations, air entering from outside, traveling underground, rising through floorboards, cooled by the earth. The USDA documented that system in 1903. That document is 120 years old. The system it describes is still running under Amish homes today, and if you've ever walked into a root cellar, a stone basement, or an old farmhouse in the middle of July and thought, why is it so much cooler in here? You've already felt this physics working on your skin. You just didn't have a name for it. Most people assume old buildings are just drafty, or damp, or built thick. They are built thick, but not by accident. The farmers who built them understood something that got quietly removed from every architecture school curriculum by 1980, that the ground is a battery. and you can spend your whole life paying someone to generate cold from scratch. Or you can tap the battery that's been charged and waiting 6 feet below your property line since before your house was built. One of those options costs $240 a month. The other one costs $300 once. Here's the part that changes how you see every cooling bill you've ever paid. In 1902, Willis Carrier invented mechanical air conditioning in a Brooklyn printing plant. His problem wasn't heat. It was humidity ruining paper. The machine was never designed for human comfort. But by the 1920s, Carrier Corporation launched a campaign called Weathermaker, repositioning air conditioning as the symbol of American progress. Their marketing materials explicitly labeled passive cooling techniques as primitive and unsanitary. Then in 1930, a Carrier Engineering Corporation manual included one sentence that buried 5,000 years of proven engineering. Earth contact cooling is suitable only for cellars and food storage. One line, one corporate manual, and an entire field of knowledge disappeared from American construction. In 1927, the first model mechanical codes were drafted. With heavy participation from HVAC industry representatives, passive alternatives weren't banned, they simply didn't exist in the document. The people writing the rules were the same people selling compressors. Fast forward to 2019, ASHRAE Technical Committee 6.8. The committee responsible for evaluating earth tubes rejected a proposal to create a performance pathway for them. Their reason? Insufficient domestic performance data. They said this while sitting on 3 decades of European documentation, covering 847 monitored installations. When researchers analyzed who sat on that committee, 67% were representatives of HVAC manufacturers. And here's what those manufacturers were protecting. The residential cooling market in America is worth $29 billion a year. The average lifetime value of a single residential HVAC customer, over $15,000. Every earth tube installed is an air conditioner that never gets sold. Meanwhile, the Cambridge Public Library in Massachusetts has 42 earth tubes buried beneath it. Result: 51 to 56% less total energy use. The Earth Rangers Center in Toronto, 9 concrete tubes, 65 feet long, buried 10 feet deep. LEED Platinum certified. A hospital in Vienna has been cooling critical care units with earth tubes since 1994. 30 years, continuous operation. These aren't experiments. They're proven infrastructure. Your building inspector has never heard of them, because his licensing exam never mentioned them, because someone made sure it didn't. So when you open your utility bill in August, it's not just a number. It's the residue of a decision made in a corporate manual in 1930. It's the compound interest on a 1,927 building code written by the people who profit when you pay it. It's the distance between what your grandfather knew and what an entire generation of architects was trained to forget. The ground beneath your house doesn't care about committees or quarterly earnings. It sits at 55 degrees. It has always sat at 55 degrees. It will sit at 55 degrees long after every air conditioner ever built has rusted into a landfill. A man in Tennessee built a closed-loop glycol system under his workshop for under $400 in materials over 2 weekends. His heating and cooling bill since installation, $0. His existing furnace is still there, still connected. He just never turns it on. The Amish didn't lose this knowledge. The Persians used it to store ice through 120-degree desert summers 2,400 years ago. The Romans ran cooling channels under their villas. Every civilization that mastered extreme climate arrived at the same answer independently. You were just never given it. Drop your state in the comments and tell me what you pay for cooling in summer. And tell me if you have any land around your house, even a fence line, even a strip the width of a car. Because that's all this takes. If you've ever wondered what else the construction industry decided you didn't need to know, subscribe, we go deep every week. And next, the Amish water system that produces clean drinking water, with no pump, no filter, and no electricity. Using a method the EPA tried to classify as non-compliant in 2012. They failed. And the reason they failed is a story you need to hear.